Hello everyone. Today discussing about essential environmental consideration of schools, wherein we saw how adequate space and opportunities, appearance of school, adequate natural lighting, and student-friendly conditions play a very important role when we talk about school and classroom environment. We also discussed how good teachers, a comfortable environment, and an environment which has a consistent temperature and something to manage the noise around, and the cleanliness and sanitation which is provided, or the sanitary aspect of the school, how it is important in order to enhance the quality of education that we are aiming at. I think we began with also, why restoration is essential in terms of all the aspects that we just discussed, wherein we saw the environment quality of a school is always symptomatic of school administrators' attitude, public priorities, and institutional objectives. So, when we talk about psychological environment, or for that matter, physical environment, or participatory environment, there are various things we need to take care of when we think of school and classroom environment. And many of the schools do not possess an ideal environment or ideal situation for the students to grow. So it's important that we understand why this restoration of essential components or essential consideration is important. So that's what this topic is about, why restoration is essential. So we are actually learning the significance of all these three environments which are supposed to be in ideal condition for the students. So as I just read that environmental quality is symptomatic of school administrators' attitude. So if the environment of the school is not proper, then the question would be raised against the school administrator is why is that a particular situation or a particular aspect related to the school and classroom environment is not taken care of. Whether when we talk about public priorities, whether the people around are not bothered about where their students are going to learn, whether they are having no contribution or no consideration for the condition in which the school is functioning. And of course, the institutional objectives, because every institution starts with an objective of providing a good quality education to the students and to the people who come there to learn. So it again raises questions against um, the institutional objectives. So that's why that restoration is again important, and the attention as teachers which we need to pay, and also as a part of the system to the conditions of the school again becomes very significant. Now, there's one term here called topophilia. Okay, so topophilia is nothing but love of a place. Now, when I talk about love of place, I'm talking about it in terms of a school and classroom environment. In order to develop that love for the place, love for school, we need to give them proper, or we can say ideal learning environment of school and classroom, so that they'll be in a better position to study or to grow or to enhance their skills. So that topophilia, that love of a place, we need to develop into them by working for the restoration of components which are not a part of the system, and stay in their communities and have a particular affinity for schools. Now, when I talk about topophilia, it is again, as I said, it talks about love of a place. So, this is kind of an affinity that the students need to have, not only students, because even the teachers, because many of the schools do not have good facilities. Forget about good facilities, not even the basic facilities for even their teachers did not have a proper place to sit, and no proper staff room, no proper toilets sometimes, or we can say that sometimes the sitting arrangement is so, the staff rooms are so crowded, sometimes so noisy. They do not have a private space for them to learn, or if they want to read something. The libraries are very small. So like that, it's not only about the student, but also about all the stakeholders who are a part of an institution. So that in order to develop that, that restoration needs to be taken care of, for which each and every stakeholder of that particular system plays an important role. Moving ahead, now contrast that to deteriorated built environments. These environments can best be described as engendering, topophobia, or we can say fear of a place. So, in contrast to the concept of topophilia, the opposite to that is topophobia. So, instead of having an affinity for that place, they develop a kind of a fear because the psychological environment is not conducive, nor is the participatory environment, and there are no physical facilities in terms of physical environment which are provided to the students. So they do not feel that affinity. Instead they develop a fear about the place, and that can be considered as one of the hindrance for them to join the schools. If we look at the gross enrollment ratio of India for primary education or maybe also secondary education, we see that it's very less. It is major reason is for such a thing is sometimes the location of the school, and most of the girl students, if you look at the statistics, you come to know that the number of girl students are very less, especially in the villages who go to school because they do not have proper facilities for them in terms of having a toilet or maybe having some private space for them, because many of the villagers or the people who stay in a very what you can say rural areas, they do not find it comfortable to send their girls to a place wherein they do not have toilets. So this is a very basic difficulty, and it is not that it is not known by the government. There are various policies which talk about that. There are various papers which are written on that. And this is the basic reason. So if you go through the policies and if you read and listen to people who are working in this direction, you will come to know that not having a basic facility or basic amenities in the school is considered to be one of the biggest reasons for most of the girls, especially not joining the school. Okay, and it's not only for girls. Sometimes the good families don't send their children to a specific school just because of the physical amenities which are not there. So it's very important that we think of that restoration that can help the institution or for that matter the system of education in several ways. Okay, and which can also improve our the quality of education or maybe the number of students who get enrolled in the primary education or the primary system or sometimes in the secondary. Many girls they drop out when they reach the secondary education level because of this reason. Now, on an average, teachers and children spend around 6 hours a day and over around 1,000 hours per year in a school. So it's a lot of time. So when you are spending most of the time of your day in the school, which is also considered as your second home, it is important that whatever basic things that are required, not only by the students but also by the teachers, should be provided to them. And for this, the school must have minimum facilities that include essential furniture and basic amenities like toilets, drinking water, and so on. Now, whatever that I'm talking about here is not what I feel. Okay, instead it is everything, whatever that we have discussed so far about that, is taken from a policy document, and this is the reality. And although they are trying it very hard in order to fulfill all those basic amenities or essential features, essential furniture, for that matter, toilets, provision of drinking water, all those things are happening slowly, but it is not up to the mark yet. So it's very important that we really think on that and make it happen, especially in the villages where the students are devoid of such basic facilities. We are not talking about projectors. We are not talking about giving them computers. Nor we are talking about setting up a computer lab or a studio. Okay, this is something which is very basic, and this also is not a part of the school. So that is a pathetic situation. And there are a large number of schools which do not have basic facilities. As I just said, there are so many schools all over India that, especially in states like UP, Bihar. Okay, if you see their villages, not in the cities, but if you see the villages, if you see the documentaries in which they clearly mention or clearly show how difficult the life is for the teachers and for the students in the school, you will get an idea what exactly and what situation, in which situation they are learning and how they are pursuing their education. So we really need to do something about them. And the first step is to get that awareness about this particular situation, that something like this is happening somewhere. Okay, and we should strive to be a part of that change and bring out some change wherever possible. And efforts need to be made for their provision so that the school routine proceeds with minimum discomfort. So forget about discomfort. Discomfort is something which comes when you have some comfort. Okay, so they don't know what comfort is. They don't know how what it feels to be comfortable in school. So to that level, that pathetic the situation is. So that restoration of all these things, may it be physical, may it be psychological or participatory, including the basic features, or basic furniture, what we call, and basic amenities, should be provided to them so that they can at least feel motivated and feel that they should go to school for learning. And the reason of, I don't know how many of you are aware, but the midday meal intervention, which was started, was because many children were not having enough food uh, to eat 3 times whatever food that we need, that some of the children were not getting. So some many of them, they used to visit the school only because they will get that midday meal. So that was one of the incentives which the government provided in order to increase the number of people or number of students joining the school. Apart from that, it was also about providing free uniforms, free textbooks, free girl child education. Okay, there are so many things which are happening, and it is all because to improve the quality of education and to reach this, in order to reach this particular education to every child, and focusing on their rights, making them get themselves educated, or making them aware of how progressive the world is, and so that they can improve their own world. When they educate themselves, they'll be in a position to improve their own world. And we should know that as teachers, education is the only thing which can change the world. Okay, so if you, even if you educate a single child properly, okay, you can make a lot of difference. And that child can make a lot of difference. So never consider your work or whatever effort that you're putting in as very minimal. It's very important that we uh, focus on what we do and try and give the best to our students. So this was all about school and classroom environment, and what are the aspects that we need to take care of in terms of the environment: physical, psychological, and participatory. So if you have any queries related to the entire topic, or maybe if it is related to this topic that we discussed just today, please feel free to ask in the chat box.